Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new around here, my name is Jazz Vader, and with Chapter 7 Season 2 being just around the corner, I decided to look back and rank every Season 2 in Fortnite history from worst to best. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to head on over, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel. We're well on the way to 1,000 subscribers, so any help is appreciated. But hey, without further ado, let's just dive straight into the Season 2 ranking. And first up on the list, all the way at the number 6 spot, is Chapter 5 Season 2. Now listen, I know I'm going to get a lot of flack about this being down here. I know this season has like so many fans, but there are just so many other goated Season 2s. I mean, yeah, sure, the season itself, you know, it was pretty fun. I definitely think it's on the better half of Chapter 5, but it had its fair share of issues. I mean, the items that came out with the season itself, you know, they were super broken. Like, I mean, you had the Thunderbolt of Zeus, which was insane. It had to get nerfed so many times. It could just absolutely decimate builds. This thing was ridiculous, and it just completely ruined how the season felt for me, I'm gonna be honest. And of course, all of these, like, you know, incredibly well-themed items, even if some of them were mid or some of them were overpowered, they just randomly got vaulted halfway through the season to make room for the mediocre avatar mythics. Now, I don't get that. Like, I don't understand removing the entire theme of a season for a single collaboration. It just made absolutely no sense. You know, I mean, literally half of the season just wasn't themed around Greek mythology. It was based around the Avatar show. I mean, that would be like, you know, take Chapter 4 Season 4, for example. I mean, Ahsoka Tano gets added to the game, you know, they add a couple of force powers and they vault the business turret, they vault the rocket ram, they vault the high-stat exotics. It just makes no sense, and it definitely ruined my opinion of the season for me quite a bit. I mean, you gotta talk about the items too, like, the loot pool was incredibly mixed. I mean, you were still dealing with the Frenzy Auto shotgun from last season, which just made every single other weapon in the game just completely useless. And at the same time, you also had the Gatekeeper, one of the best shotguns of all time. And there is one item which I definitely think ruined this season, like, single-handedly. And it was water bending. I mean, it was basically a hit scan weapon in a season with heavy bullet drop. Maybe even the worst it felt that chapter. I mean, seriously, this item was so strong, you had to have it or you weren't winning. I mean, I had two of my friends quit the game over it. It was that bad. But the locations that season were goated. Honestly, it's some of the best we've had in years. Maybe not Brawler's Battleground, but Grim Gate. I mean, you had whatever the underground location was. I mean, you had Mount Olympus. These locations were just incredible. You had restored reels as well, which was just a fantastic location. Other than that, you know, it was a pretty okay season. I just think there's been more influential seasons. I just think there's been better seasons, and unfortunately, it's just fallen down the list. And coming up next at the number 5 spot on this list is Chapter 1 Season 2. Now, this is a little bit of an interesting one because technically this season, it didn't really start until about a couple of weeks in with the 2.2 update. The first update of Chapter 1 Season 2 was the first ever Winterfest. But outside of that, the first update to this season wasn't anything special. But it's the second update that made this season what it was. Obviously, it added tilted towers, it added shifty shafts, it added haunted hills, junctions, starvy suburbs, tons of like small locations around the map that just made everything feel so much more concise. This was the season that polished Fortnite, you know, this was the season that just set it on its path. Now listen, while the season itself, you know, it wasn't exactly groundbreaking stuff, you know, it did add some of the most iconic locations in Fortnite history, but it also didn't really do that much to the game. I mean, the reason this season is up here, as high as it is because it literally changed the gaming industry as a whole. And that is because of the creation of the Battle Pass. Listen, I know other game companies had done this before in like different ways, but this was the game that popularized this kind of model, and it literally changed the entire gaming space. I mean, the impact this season Fortnite left cannot be understated. This is easily one of the most influential Fortnite seasons of all time. I mean, of course, it also added some of the most iconic Fortnite items of all time. You know, it added the minigun, it added the suppressed pistols, it added the boogie bomb. Overall, it is one of the best seasons in early Fortnite, and obviously it came back to OG, you know, almost a year ago at this point, and it's still held up to this day. This season is just fun, it's well balanced, it's great. I mean, I'm just going to list off a couple more of the items that came to this season. You know, you had the cozy campfire, you had the chug jug, I mean, you had the first ever crossbow, you had the impulse grenade, by the way, which is the great ancestor of basically every single movement item in Fortnite history. You know, I mean, this single item changed Fortnite entirely. I mean, it added the mini shield potion. How insane is that? We didn't have the mini shield potion until like halfway through season 2. I mean, this season, it added so many tiny like major additions to the game, which, you know, if any of them were ever removed, players would literally riot. And that's why I put it all the way at the number 5 spot on this list. Yeah, sure, there wasn't much going on, but what it did add changed the game forever. All right, and coming up next at the number 4 spot in this list is, you know what, one of my favorite seasons of all time. You know, this was super fun, and it was Lawless. I mean, the theming in this season was just on point. I mean, robbing vaults, you know, like looting trains, the kneecap of the rocket drill. I'm going to talk about all of these things in detail, but this season just felt like itself. I mean, listen, we've got to talk about the vaults. The vaults were super cool. I mean, obviously, you picked up a little bit of thermite, then you threw it on the vault door, and then you would have to fight a couple of waves of guards while the vault slowly cracked itself. And honestly, this was easily my favorite part of the season. It just felt so cool, you know, with the music and whatnot. You know, you were actually going to get your ass whooped by these guards if you weren't paying attention. I honestly feel like Lawless was the first season since Chapter 2 Season 2 to have guards actually feel like a menace. Everything about this part of the season was incredible. I mean, even the train heist. I think this is the best the train felt, and going back to the original model was why the train fell off. I mean, it is just fantastic. It's fantastic. And I'm only talking about, you know, the base level of this season. You had, obviously, the return of the Mammoth Pistol. I was a demon this season. I was hitting headshot to headshot to headshot. The Mammoth Pistol is one of my favorite guns of all time, and I never thought I would see it outside of Chapter 4. And talking about Chapter 4, you know, obviously you had a new variation of the rocket ram with the rocket drill. One of my favorite movement items of all time. It feels super fun to use. You can use it as a melee item if you're in a pinch. And yeah, also, this season had some of the best exotics we've had since Chapter 4. I mean, you had the Lawless RPG, one of the best movement items of all time. I mean, you had the Trinity Assault Rifle, easily one of the best shotguns in the game. It did 98 headshot damage consistently. I mean, you had Midas's Gilded Eye Drum Gun, not strictly an exotic, but it may as well have been because this thing was absolutely incredible. I mean, combine this with the Rift Launcher and you would just win. That was just it. Obviously, you can get all these from the black markets, which was another main feature of the season, you know. Only could have existed in this season, and honestly, I'm so glad it did. It was great. I mean, you had the movement for this season. Obviously, you know, you didn't just have the rocket drill, you had the kneecap, one of the most broken items of all time. You know, you could just send somebody flying. I mean, seriously, this was a true crutch item. You were always carrying this item. Now, listen, I know I haven't really said much about this season. You know, it's kind of just itself. You know, it didn't really leave a massive impact on the game. It didn't do anything novel outside of what it did, if that even makes any sense. It didn't leave any real impact on the game. It was just what it was, and it was a pretty decent season. I just think, in the grand scheme of things, there have been so many better Season 2s. And coming up next is one of those better seasons. I mean, we're talking about influential. This was potentially one of the most influential seasons in Fortnite history, and it is Chapter 3 Season 2. I mean, we're going to talk about the season itself first. You know, it had the whole war mechanic. I mean, that was super fun, even if it was, you know, obviously rigged. But even so, it felt super fun. It actually felt like you were fighting in a war. I mean, of course, it had, you know, little mini battles that would play out. You know, every week there'd be a new location for you to win over, and there wasn't a minute of the season where you weren't fighting somebody. I mean, you had the war bus and the tank, you know, added in the game for the first time, which were amazing as well. I mean, I still have memories of driving around in a tank, you know, with a full squad. Somebody's manning the gun, somebody's driving the tank, and then we're all shooting everybody else on the back. It is one of the most fun vehicles in Fortnite history. I mean, of course, we also had some pretty sweet weapons. You know, we had the Combat SMG and the Strike Burst AR. You know, we had some more interesting ones like the Anvil rocket launcher, which was, you know, it locked onto vehicles. It was a pretty good counter to the tanks. We also had the reworked Scoped AR, which I gotta admit, it was actually pretty good. You know, it was actually a serviceable assault rifle for the first time in its entire existence. You know, I still never picked it up, but it was pretty decent. I also gotta say, this is the first season on this list to have an actual live event, obviously being Collision, and I consider that event to be one of the greats. It's one of the best of all time. You know, it was super cool stuff. You know, everything about it just felt really, really fun. You know, it was just an incredible live event. However, the real reason this season is so far up here isn't because of the season itself, but because of what it added, being tactical sprinting and mantling. I mean, this was huge. It changed the game completely. You know, I actually cannot imagine the game without these. You know, this changed how Fortnite played in its entirety. All of a sudden, building wasn't the best way to get around the map. But it wasn't even the best addition in the season. You know, mantling and sprinting, they were all well good enough, but this season added zero build. I mean, this was huge for the game. I cannot stress how much this changed things. I mean, it was an actual 10 out of 10 change, even though I'm moving more towards builds nowadays. If this mode wasn't introduced when it was, you know, I think everyone was just kind of getting exhausted of all the sweats. I would have quit. You know, I would have quit the game. This channel wouldn't exist in the way it does now. And for that reason, you know, that's why I love this season so much. I mean, it literally saved me from quitting the game. Now listen, overall, you know, the season itself, it was fine. It did drag a little bit towards the end, but overall, it was pretty decent. But the impact the season left on the game, I mean, I've been saying this, but it is potentially one of the most, if not the most influential seasons of all time. It's just the GOAT, and I can't stress that enough. Hey, and you know what? Next, at the number 2 spot on this list is Chapter 4, Season 2, Mega. I mean, it was one of my favorite seasons of all time. I mean, seriously, this season brought so much to the table. You know, you had the Loot Lake Island, you had Mega City, you had, you know, the whole Japan biome. You know, that was simply beautiful. I mean, you had Steamy Springs, one of my favorite locations of all time. You know, I was dropping there basically every single time. I mean, seriously, these are some of the best map changes ever. I mean, you had so many goated items. You know, you had the Kinetic Blade, you had the Havoc Pump, you had the Overclocked Pulse Rifle. I mean, you even had the Golden Slurp. I mean, what a loot pool. This is one of the best loot pools we have ever had in Fortnite history. I mean, we got to go back and talk more about the Loot Lake Island because what a perfect feature. Honestly, it was so much fun. I mean, you'd head over there, you know, every time it spawned. I mean, it created so many unique fights. It was so much fun. You know, you had all the bushes you could hide around in. You had a Loot Lake house you could shoot out of. It was honestly so much fun, and I wish they would bring it back in future seasons because it seems to have been quietly retired in Chapter 6, Season 4, never to return again. I mean, we also had one of the best movement items of all time. I mean, if you want to see my ranking on every single movement item in Fortnite history, click on the button in the top right after you watch this video, being the ODM gear. I mean, the fact that this thing even made it past playtesting was just ridiculous. One of the most insane items in Fortnite history. I mean, this season, it just brought so much to the table. I mean, I haven't even mentioned the vault system. You know, I believe this was the first time in Chapter 4 that vaults got added to the map, and you could get a mythic pump out of them. This season was just so much fun, which is why it just slightly edges out the season prior to this. As good as Chapter 3 Season 2 was, it was nowhere near as fun and as good as Mega, and I still have fond memories of this season. Easily my personal favorite season of Chapter 4 and one of my favorite Season 2s of all time. But as you can see, it isn't my absolute favorite, so I'm sure you're all wondering, what have I put at the number 1 spot on this list? And sitting all the way at the top of this list, at the number 1 spot. I mean, come on guys, you all knew this was coming. It is Chapter 2 Season 2. Easily one of the best seasons of all time. You know, some people even consider it to be the best Fortnite season of all time. I mean, you guys would have killed me if this wasn't up here, and I think it is the best Season 2 of all time. I mean, it's very similar to Lawless in tons of different ways, you know, with the whole vault and heist theme and whatnot. You know, you can draw so many similarities from Top Secret to Lawless, you know, even to Last Resort. This season inspired 2 separate seasons. You know, that should just show how goated this season was. I mean, we're going to talk about what this season added to the table, and there were some heavy hitters here. Of course, we're going to mention the big thing this season added, you know, the whole focus point of the season, and it was bosses. This was huge. I mean, we still have bosses on the Fortnite map to this day. You know, I mean, they're always changing. I mean, nowadays you can actually play as a boss, but back in the day, you know, obviously you couldn't do that. You know, it was literally the first time they'd been added to the game, and this was honestly the best the bosses had ever felt. I mean, seriously, people were talking about Midas like it was the devil, bro. You know, these bosses are smarter than you. They are faster than you. They are luckier than you. They will just nail you in seconds. I mean, these bosses were the last time they were actually a threat. I mean, ever since this season, they just felt like NPCs with more health. I mean, of course, talking about NPCs, actually, you know, you had the addition of guards on the map for the first time. I mean, these were also menaces. I remember so many different videos about just being lasered out of the air by these guys. I mean, dropping at one of these locations just felt terrifying. And talking about the locations, you know, you had some of the best locations of all time. You had the Grotto, one of my favorite locations in Chapter 2. You know, you had, obviously, the agency, you had the yacht, you know, you had the rig, you had the shark. A lot of those, but they were all really, really, really good. And there is a reason why when we went back to the Chapter 2 island, we just started on this season. I mean, you also had the additions of mythics to the game, you know, properly this time. We did have a few false starts throughout Chapter 1. You know, we had the Thanos Gauntlet. You also had the Batman items, but these were the first true mythics, and they came out hitting hard. I mean, let's just list them off. You had Brutus's minigun, you had TNTina's boom bow, and the infamous Midas's drum gun. I mean, so many goated items. I honestly cannot believe these were all in the game at the same time. I mean, even weaker mythics, you know, like Sky's Grappler or Meowskull's Pew Pew Rifle, were still stupid overpowered. And honestly, mythic items have never felt as good as they were in this season. You also had a crazy amount of content in this season. Obviously, it had to, you know, it was one of the longest seasons in Fortnite history. But I mean, you had spy games, one of the coolest LTMs we've ever had. You dropped into a Team Rumble-esque match. I believe you also had Capture the Flag and kind of like a Discord domination type mode. And you'd be able to select from a selection of items using tech. I mean, you could get some incredible items out of this. You had the dual suppressed pistols, you had the decoy grenade. I mean, it's one of the best modes of all time, and I wish they would bring it back somehow. I mean, we haven't even talked about the whole Ghost versus Shadow thing. You know, I believe in the Battle Pass you could choose one of 2 styles, and depending on how many players chose which style for the corresponding boss skin, you know, the location they were at would change to fit it. That was a super cool way to shake up the locations mid-season. You know, the yacht turned from a mansion to a prison. You know, the agency turned from the agency to agency with black walls. Alright, listen, not all of them were like incredible changes, but they were still really cool, you know? They didn't have to do it, but they did. And I love how it slowly set up the device event all the way through the season. I mean, I'm gonna talk about that actually. Yeah, I completely forgot about that. The device event is one of the best events of all time. Of course, it was the first event to have a first-person perspective. I mean, you can literally draw a line of lineage from this event all the way back to Ballistic, and I think that's super cool. I mean, this season was generational, and it only gets brought down by it lasting a little bit too long. And listen, I know it's kind of stereotypical to glaze this season, you know, people always complaining, oh, it's not good, it's not good. It is good, it's that good. I mean, it's simply one of the best seasons of all time, and that's why it's all the way at the top of this list at the #1 spot. Alright everybody, thank you so much for sticking around all the way till the end. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. If you stick around a little bit longer, I just want to tell you about a couple more things. Of course, I'm back off my break, fully and permanently. Thank you all so much for being so patient. It absolutely means the world to me. If you feel like it, make sure to head on over and check out my reload video. I really enjoyed making that video. I really think it's a good video, and it didn't really do too well, so any help on that front is appreciated. But I also keep forgetting to tell you guys, we actually have an official Discord server. I mean, if you want to head on over to my YouTube description, there should be a link there. It should bring you right to the Discord server. It's full of the most amazing people I know. So many people talking in there. There's so many mini games you can play. There's so much stuff you can do. And I hope I see you guys over there. All you really gotta do is stay safe, drink some water, and have a fantastic day. Bye-bye!